Might as well stay in Edmonton. Are you tracking what's happening with Connor McDavid and the contract? And what's your opinion?
Yeah, I have been tracking it. I think he is taking his time, which is, I think, smart. In the sense that if his sole motivation is to win a Stanley Cup and be thought of as if he goes through his whole career and doesn't win a Stanley Cup, are you two going to sit here and tell me he's the best ever? Can you actually say that? Just based on stats?
No, you can't.
Exactly. So he knows he's already had 10 incredible years. And now he's sitting there going, okay, this is my legacy. This is my life. I'm not worried about the Edmonton Oilers. I'm not worried about the National Hockey League. I'm not worried about hurting feelings, which, if you're just looking at the player, is his right and his legacy. And I'm looking at it going, okay, if his sole life's mission was to win a Stanley Cup and be a champion, if he doesn't think they can do it there, then he needs to leave. And they've now gotten to 2 finals in a row, lost 2 heartbreaking finals. And it's almost like you could watch them and say that they kind of ran out of gas. They had a number of key injuries in both series. We can talk about the goalie all we want. They also ran out of gas too. And we can say, okay, we're going to get a goalie. Who are you going to get? Who are you going to go get? And are they going to be willing to trade him to you? That's the other thing. Like, we could talk about John Gibson. We could talk about all these guys. Well, they sent him across the Eastern Conference. Like, there's also matchups. There's also teams that, like, they don't want to trade inside the conference or inside the division. And it's one thing to say, okay, we're going to go do that. Well, then what? Then what are you going to use? They don't have a lot of assets to be making trades and moving players around. They don't want to, and it's always at the deadline. Well, we don't want to lose a player off our current roster. So what are you going to trade? Like, if you're going to make a trade, what are you going to do? What are you going to get? That's going to make a big difference come playoff time. And so
you think playing it out is legitimately on the table for him?
I think he might. And I think he might look at where they're at. I don't think he's got a foot out the door. Let me just say that. I don't think he's talking to them like Mitch Marner and he's got his foot out the door. I think he is seriously wants to see how they do. Doing the actual contract, whether he wants a short-term deal and he wants to do a 2-year deal because he thinks they have a window of 2 years. Great. Boom, they could do that today. If he wanted to do a 4-year deal, a 6-year deal, an 8-year deal. The actual contract is not hard, in my opinion. I mean, what do you want? Here it is. The cap's going up. All these different things are working in Edmonton's favor. So from a monetary perspective, that side of it is not going to be hard. It is more, are they going in the right direction? Are they still on the rise? Are they able to bring in enough younger players to supplement older players aging out or leaving? And I think that's the fine balance.
They have to. I tell you what, as a team, Chris, they have to get younger. They have to get younger.
Yeah,
that's absolutely the most. And I think Connor probably understands that too.
Well, and that's why if you look at the season, that's why it's important for him, I think, to just play it out. I don't think if he plays it out, he's not gone. I think he's playing it out because he wants to see what moves they can make. Then there's the draft. And he's not gone until July 1. And by the way, even if he goes to free agency, that doesn't mean he's going to leave. It just means he wants to see what other teams look like. By the way, that's why there's free agency. It's so the player can look around and go, okay, is there a better opportunity? Is there a better option than where I currently am? If there isn't, I'm going to stay.
By the way, that's what your group fought for when you talk about free agency. That's what you guys had labor issues for a long time, because give free agency opportunities at a much younger age.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and the reason I think the younger age of free agency is actually better for the NHL and better for teams, they get a player in free agency that is in their prime, as opposed to 32 when the player was past their prime or exiting their prime, and you're getting paid for past performance, which didn't make a lot of sense to me. Now they get paid for their performance. And in some cases, we'll see, the last year or two, might be throwaway years or years you just have to pay the player because that's how you get him to go there. But I think it's certainly the number one topic in the NHL is where is he going to go? When's he going to sign? On and on and on. It'll be interesting to watch how the start of their season and then the conversations that his agent has with Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson and how that plays out. I think he probably signs a 2-year deal. Would be my guess, just to keep the window open a little bit. The cap's going up. They can find a couple more free agents to play with them, and they give it another run.
Sid's already won
3. By the way, 3.
What would you tell him if he called you and said, "What should I consider here?"
He's in the last year of his deal, correct?
Sid in his last year. I think he's got one more year.
Because that
This
also
year.
will play into it.
This year? Okay.
This is his last year?
Keep talking. I'll figure it out.
Okay. That I think, depending upon the year, I think is a big deal for whether he moves or not, because I think it's.
No, he has
If he's in
another
his
year
last-
after this.
Yeah.
He has another year after this. He has 26, 27. And,
So
and
it
by the time this
becomes-
contract ends, he'll be 39 years old.
So does he want to be one of the players that played for one team? Does he want that to be part of his legacy? Does he want to be Mario or Steve Yzerman or Nick Lidstrom or some of these guys that played 20 plus years for one franchise, which is pretty impressive, especially in today's era? Or do you want to have another kick at it and go play with one of your buddies? Do you go play with McKinnon? Do you go to Florida? Barkov's hurt. Do you go to Florida? Are they able to fit him in? There's a lot of scenarios. I think, I saw him talking about Montreal and these different places. If he goes anywhere, it would be to a team where he thinks they can win. Well, otherwise, why are you going to move?
What would you tell him to do?
Maybe he goes to Edmonton. He wants to play with McDavid and Draisaitl. And at this stage, it takes.
Now you're just stirring up the pot.
No, I'm not. No, but I'm just saying, if you want to win, and he doesn't have to be 1A.
No.
He plays in behind McDavid. He's now getting better matchups. And that's, I think, what people have to look at too, is where somebody goes, what kind of matchups can you get? If he goes to Colorado, he's getting the same thing as he goes to Edmonton. He's playing on the second line. He's not going to play the wing. He's going to play center. So then you have 1A, 1B, and 1C. If you go to Edmonton, and if you go to Colorado, you got 1B.
What would you tell him to do? Would you tell him to be that guy in Pittsburgh, that legend, or try and go win somewhere else? Because you had chances to win.
Well, he's not going to. I can tell you this: he's not going to win in Pittsburgh.
No, and it's going to be painful.
It is going to be painful.
It already has been painful. That's
the last couple of years. I know.
Yeah,
that becomes it. And here's the thing: does he really want to break his back for a team he knows is not going to win? No matter how good he is, no matter how amazing, what kind of leader he is, they are not making the playoffs. And what does that do to his psyche, to his... It's not hurting his legacy, but it's not helping. In the sense that he's not giving himself another chance to get a 4th cup, a 5th cup, and on and on and on. He with 2 years left in his deal, he's got 2 kicks at the can if he goes somewhere else. And
I just don't see him leaving, Chris. I just don't.
I don't either. I don't either. But and I think partly legacy, one franchise, on and on. But
I think he's
I would not. When you've won,
I think he's mirroring what Mario did. Stay with the franchise, believe in the city.
But when you've won, and then you start losing like that, no, thank you. It is. It can grind on you, especially when you're still near the top, like he has.
Yeah.
It's not like his play has drastically fallen off. Malkin's has. He has not.